All right, we're looking at some very, very interesting clashes, and one of them, of course, is Errol Spence Jr. taking on Danny Garcia. That's on the 5th of December in Texas. This is going to be something. This is something that everyone's waiting for, Joe, because obviously you're not seeing Errol. You're not seeing him boxing for a very long time, and it's one of his first major fights, and again, someone who's trying to come up and about. So your thoughts on this particular encounter, Joe?
Well, they've moved it 2 weeks because they weren't able to have crowds, but they've moved it to the AT&T Stadium and there are going to be crowds. I'm not sure if the numbers for this fight, but one of the first times after the pandemic that the fans are allowed in. Yes, fantastic matchup. And for those thinking that Danny Garcia, because he has 2 losses, isn't a live opponent to this fight, you're sorely mistaken. Spencer said it himself. He knows he's going to get drawn into a dogfight. Let's look at those 2 fights that Garcia lost. So close to Thurman. It was a split decision. The fight with Porter was a unanimous decision. Could have gone either way. These are really close fights. One common opponent with Porter and Spence. Again, Porter-Spence, a really close fight. The deciding factor was the knockdown. This is going to be a similar fight. Spence is the poster boy in some ways of the division. He's the next superstar elect. And people are kind of saying, oh, Garcia isn't the same. He's a former light welter champion. He's a former welter champion. He's had 2 very close losses. And although he may not be spectacular in anything he does, his fundamentals are brilliant. And he's not going away in this fight. You can see it in a long, hard night for Spence.
How difficult is this going to be for Spence also, because he had that horrific car crash. There was a bit of that, the Porter win, and then he kind of spiraled somewhere and mentally was in a different space. Take us through that, and how difficult is it for a boxer to come from something like that mentally?
Well, yes, indeed. And there's been a lot of talk of Spence. Is his mind focused on boxing? When he's out of the boxing ring, does he have a different type of life? Is he training correctly? Is he living correctly? I'm afraid I can't say. I don't know the man myself. All I hear are the rumors. But we do know that the car crash happened. And we know that we've seen interviews after the car crash. He didn't seem... There were people who said perhaps he had to have things replaced and it was getting used to the teeth. Again, I can only speak on rumors and speculation, what I've heard and read. There is the big question. Is this going to affect him at all? Is there going to be a problem? We have to find out in this fight. Now, he could have taken an easier fight to warm himself back in, but he's taking Garcia. And it makes it fascinating. I think it's going to be a long, tough fight. I see a points decision. A close points decision here. But yeah, that's my prediction. I see Garcia not going away quickly. We've not seen Garcia rocked or hurt or broken in any fight. I see no reason to see it in this fight.
What would you say would be the one biggest strength of Errol that Garcia would look to counter, if you could just kind of weigh them on that?
Ooh, what will Garcia look to take advantage of Spence? It's very hard to see what he will do. He's a slightly bigger man, stronger man, taller man. I think he'll just wait to use his fundamentals and wait for the mistakes and counter. He'll try and see whether he can get his left hook in there. It's one of his strongest, Garcia's best punches is his left hook. So if he can find an opening to get that left hook in there. But to start with, he'll be trying to just use basics to find things out and wait for the left hook. Can he find it? Can he get there? He's shown with Porter and he's shown with Thurman he can hang with the best of them and give them everything they want. So if Spence is coming on, I guess they'll try and match him. And we're going to see either 2 heads clash or we're going to see one take away. I've seen nothing to suggest that Garcia really takes a step back. And he'll meet him head on. It's hard to see which either of them will really... There's not much to say which either fighter can really exploit from either fighter. And that's why it's so evenly matched. It's a hard one to predict, apart from a long fight.
a longer fight. But your final word, who's going to come away smiling from this one?
I'm going to edge for Spence, the undefeated fighter. Garcia, who held his own extremely well against Thurman and against Porter, he did. I'm not saying there were robberies or anything. He did come up short, that little bit too short. I feel it's going to be another one of those fights where Spence just edges it, just takes it by a round, 2 rounds. Nothing major, but the deserved winner, I believe, will be Spence. But he'll know he's been in a fight, and it won't be an easy night for him against Garcia.